There's nothing that pushes your playing forward more than finally spending time to crack the code of the guitar fretboard. If you're ready to know more, learn more, and play more, join me for today's podcast. So stay tuned. Hello and welcome, friends, to episode 181 of the Play Guitar Podcast. I'm Lee. This is the podcast that's determined to make you a better guitar player. No matter if you're just starting out or you've been playing for years, this is the show that will help you become the guitarist that you always wanted to be. If you are new here, make sure you subscribe to the podcast and check out the description for all of the links from the show. And this episode is brought to you by Play Guitar Academy, where you learn the right skills at the right time in the right order to put guitar frustration in your past. Welp, it's time to crack the code. There's nothing that pushes your playing forward. Finally spending that time really working on the guitar, really understanding what those notes are underneath all these different scale patterns and chord shapes. One of the big themes of my podcast is a quote that I say all the time: learning the guitar isn't hard, it's just not obvious. And that applies to how the fretboard is set up as well. So we're going to take a few minutes and we're going to learn how the notes fall across the fretboard. Now, for some of you, this may be some basic things. We're going to go through from the beginning, work our way all the way across. So we understand how the guitar is set up first. But there'll be some stuff, some practice tips, really, and memorization tips at the end of the podcast for players who are a little bit farther along. Okay, so let's take a look here. I've got some. First, I'm going to say hi to the people who are in the chat. Jim's here. Hi, Jim. How are you doing? Dean's here. Good to see you. David's here. And Dino's here. Wonderful to see you guys. Thank you for hanging out. We've had some terrible weather today, and I was going to do a backup of this, but it looked like right around 5 we were going to get cleared out. So I think I'm in the window where we can get this to happen here. So we are live, no backup today. We're going without a net here. So okay, so I'm gonna let's see here. Jason's here. Hi, Jason. Hey, how are you doing? Let's go over to our banners here. Hold on a second. And we're going to talk about explaining the guitar fretboard a little bit. We're going to go up the fretboard. So, unlike the piano, where the notes are separated into white keys and into black keys, the black keys are the sharps and the flats, and the white keys are your regular notes. The guitar is based more on the chromatic scale, going up each string. It's a little different. The chromatic scale is another term for the sequence of all 12 of the notes that we used. Notes used in Western music. Okay, for example, we've got E goes to F, F goes to F sharp goes to G sharp goes to A goes to A sharp goes to B goes to C goes to C sharp, then to D sharp, then to E. Those are each of the notes in the low string all the way up to the 12th fret. So if you listen close with that, or if you can take a look, if you're joining us live, there's two places that we need to know about here. So the formula is every note has a sharp or a flat in between it. The first one we come to is F sharp here. It's in between the F and the G. You could also call that a G flat. Same note, two different ways of talking about it. But every note has a sharp or a flat in between them except for two places. And that is E and F and B and C. Very important for you to know. Each of these notes, though, as we go up, they're a half step from the next. And as you move up this string on the guitar, each fret represents a half step. The naturally occurring half steps are those places, E and F and B and C. where they're right next to each other without a sharp. If you look at a keyboard, it's very easy to see those. These are the places where you have two white keys that are together without a black key in between them. All the other keys have black keys in between them. So let's start talking about going across the fretboard. So that was going up. Now we're going across. Okay, so going across the fretboard, the strings don't all have the same starting point. When we take a look at these strings, we have from low strings to some high strings. And we're told that the names of strings, E, A, D, G, B, E. Well, if you look at each of these notes, the strings are arranged in fourths, okay? E goes to A. That's an interval of a fourth. Play them together. That's the sound that you get. A to D, same thing. That's the sound of a fourth. D to G, same thing. Sound of a fourth. But between G and B, it's different. Things never work out perfectly. So this is different. Between G and B, we have an interval of a major third. But then as we go to the last strings, from the B string to the high E string, we're back to that sound of a fourth. There are historical reasons why the guitar was set up like this. I'm going to have a link in the show notes to a fretboard.com article that's all about the history of the guitar and all the different ideas of why people think they're set up this way. It's a good article. I'm not going to get into that today. I'm just happy that they changed that G between the G string to the B string. You think it messes you up, but it really doesn't. If you tried keeping everything in fourths and playing the same chords that you did, the fingerings would be terrible. terrible to work with. So whoever made that one change, whoever decided, that was a great thing to do. So as we go across the strings, they're staggered. E goes to A, D, G, B, E, fourth, third, and then a fourth. Let's talk about something else. Let's talk about the 12th fret. 12th fret is really important on the guitar. You can see on your guitar, there will be some sort of marker that's different from all the others. Most, if you have the dots on your fretboards, you have them at the 3rd, the 5th, the 7th, and the 9th. And then you have something 3 frets up from there on the 12th fret that's a little bit different. 2 dots I have on my guitar, but sometimes they'll take the 12th fret and make a big deal out of it. They'll put some inlay there, something special on the 12th fret. And it's important. The 12th fret's very important to the guitar fretboard. On each string, the chromatic scale that we worked up, E, F, F sharp G, G sharp A sharp B, C, C sharp D, D sharp. When you get to the 12th fret, that's when it starts over. You get to the next E, an octave past where you started. Another thing too about the 12th fret and how it starts the guitar over, if you'll notice, your 3rd fret, 5th fret, 7th fret, 9th fret, okay, they all have markers on them. If you look at your 12th fret and imagine that as the open string, 3 frets up, you have a marker. That's on the 15th, 17th, the 19th, and let's see, 15, 17, 19, 21, okay? These are exactly the same. These markers are exactly the same notes, just an octave up of the markers below them on the guitar. So say you're at the first, you're in the low string on the first marker, which happens to be the 3rd fret. Well, if you go to the first marker past the 12th fret, you get a G, the same as the one we just played, an octave apart. So if you need to switch up higher to a higher, there's an A, an octave from that, I just used quickly the fret markers jumping up an octave. It's very important, very important. So 12th fret, easy to do those things. So what we're going to do is we're going to talk about, well, how can we learn the guitar fretboard quickly? 10 minutes or less. And understanding the layout of the fretboard is very easy when you take what we just learned and take that information and explore the fretboard a little bit. First thing we're talking about is the names of the strings. Standard tuning, open string notes are E, A, D, G, B, E. It starts with the low E string. And when I say low, it means the lowest sounding string. Then we work our way across the strings, E, A, D, G, B, and then to the highest sounding string, the high E string. So the first thing you'll do, if this is new for you, is you'll play each open string and you'll say its name out loud. E, A, D, G, B, E. And you can work backwards. E, B, G, D, A, E. Next thing you're going to do, if you can do that already, let's work our way up to the 12th fret. So on each string, you're going to say the chromatic scale as you work all the way up to the 12th fret. And you'll know that you did it correctly when you get to the 12th fret and you find the same note you started with. I'm going to pick another string. I'll pick the G string. Okay, so we have G, up a fret, G sharp, A sharp, B, C. There's one of our natural half steps. C sharp, D, D sharp, E. Now we go to F at the 10th fret. E and F are right next to each other, the other natural half steps. F sharp, and then G. We did it. We did it correctly. So you take your time, do that on each string. Then go backwards if you'd like, but we'll get to that in a minute. Take your time. Well, let's do that now. Let's go reverse on the G string. So we start on the G, F sharp, F, E, D sharp, D, C sharp, C, B, A sharp, A, G sharp to G. You have to think a little bit more doing that way. You have to take your time to do it in reverse order. And we got it right. Next section, when you start to get that on your fingers, working your way back the same string. Now we're going to start to find out where the guitar strings overlap. And exploring that is going to help you realize how these strings relate to each other. What we're going to do is we're going to say the names of the notes and work our way up the low E string until we reach the name of the next open string, which is the A string. Okay, so let's start with the low E string. E, F on the first fret, F sharp second, G third, G sharp, A on the 5th fret. That's the same as the next string. So E, F, F sharp, G, G sharp, A. Now we're going to move to the next string where we started there. A sharp first fret, B on the second, C on the 3rd, C sharp on the 4th, and on the 5th, D. It's the same as the next string. Let's move over to the next string. D, first D sharp, second E, 3rd F, 4th F sharp, 5th G. Same as the next string. All right, so we're overlapping. So now we're going to the G. Go up one, G sharp, A on the 2nd fret, on the 3rd fret, A sharp, and then B on the 4th fret. This is where everything is different. All the other strings overlap on the 5th. G string overlaps on the 4th. Okay, that moves us to the B string. Open B, 1st fret, C, C sharp on the 2nd, 3rd is D, 4th is D sharp, 5th is E, or open E. Same as the open E. Okay, so if you can do that, work your way through each of the strings, go up to the 5th fret on most, and then the 4th fret on the G string. That will also give you your tuning notes. You've seen, if you know one string's in tune, sometimes you'll see someone with one of those little pitch pipes or something like that. They get the one note, and you can tune the whole rest of your guitar matching notes using this process. Okay, so understanding this shows us how the guitar strings overlap and each other and provides us with 7 different ways to play the same note on different strings. But let's move on to something a little bit more advanced. This is for the players who understand what we've been going through before, the basics of how this is set up, but they still have problems. They start to play maybe up in the middle of the guitar at like the 9th fret, 10th fret, and they have no idea what the notes are that they're playing. That's where we've moved to at this point. So we're going to talk about what are ways that we can memorize the notes on the guitar. So now you can navigate around the fretboard. I'm going to give you some great tips. We're going to memorize the notes on the fretboard. The first thing is we're going to spend some time going up and down the single strings, like we showed earlier. Key to memorizing anything is focusing on long-term memory. So by using daily repetition and get these formulas on autopilot, you'll be able to find the name of the note you need on demand with little effort. You'll be able to work your way up from the open string or work your way back from the 12th fret to figure out what a single note is. Spend at least 10 minutes a day saying out loud the chromatic notes as you work your way up to the 12th fret, starting on the 12th fret and working your way back. Repeat this process up high on the fretboard above the 12th fret as well. So even though everything switches at the 12th fret, that doesn't mean you don't need to work those higher notes as well. So make sure you memorize those 2 natural half steps, B and C and E and F. Things will go easy. Okay, so that's the easy one. Now we're going to get a little bit more difficult. We're going to spend some time going across the frets. So single string exercises are common, but unfortunately when we play guitar, we play in something called positions, right? Positions, sometimes they're called grips. That's the area where your fingers get a 4-fret spread starting at a certain fret. So let's see, here I'm at the 3rd fret and put my first finger in the 3rd fret. You can easily put your 2nd finger on the 4th, 3rd finger on the 5th, 4th finger on the 6th, and any note that falls under your fingers on that spread of 4 frets will be handled by that finger. That's called playing in position. You can reach back a fret with your first finger. You can reach forward a fret with your pinky we can open that up to 6 frets. But being able to see the notes across these frets that go across all the strings, that's a huge step up from what we just did, just knowing the notes going up a single string. And after you're solid in your ability to find the notes up those strings, we're going to do this. We're going to spend each day reciting the notes across different frets. And let's pick the 3rd fret right here. So let's go across. Here, I've got a banner for this. So if we start on the low E string at the 3rd fret, that's a G note. If we move to the next string on the A string, same fret, it's a C note. Next fret, F, B flat, D, and G. G, C, F, B flat, D, G. Okay, on the way back. G, D, B flat, F, C, and G. Knowing those notes straight across the fret, which barely anyone ever works on, makes things super, super easy. Okay? At first, what you're going to do is you're going to pick just several frets. You might pick the 10th fret. You might pick the 5th fret. And what you'll do is you go across and back just like we did. Practice that for 10 minutes of your daily routine. Then when this gets easy, now we're going to make it more difficult again. We've gone from super easy to very difficult in a very short amount of time. We're going to start doing a zigzag. We're going to say the names of the notes. Let's do this on the first. Let's do it on the first 3 frets. Let me clear some space on my desktop here. Okay, so we're going to zigzag across the first 3 frets. So first fret across on the low E string, we have F. We move to the A string, we have A sharp or B flat, D sharp or E flat, I'll just stay with sharps. D sharp, G sharp, C, and F. Now we're going to go up a fret and move our way back on the second fret. F sharp, C sharp, A, E, B, F sharp. Next fret going up. G, C, F, B flat, D, G. Let's do the 4th fret. G, D sharp, G sharp, D sharp, B, F sharp, C sharp, and G sharp. Okay, it's starting to get a little more difficult right there. Okay, so let's head back over here. Right, so what we're going to do is do that all the way to the 12th fret. Spend 10 minutes a day in your practice zigzagging back and forth on each fret, going back and forth. And you're going to be surprised, especially when you get up past the 5th fret, how difficult this exercise can be. You can also do this to a metronome and pick a very comfortable beat per minute where you could do that. I just do quarter notes or eighth notes, comfortably saying it as you play. And then maybe each day in your practice, bump it up a notch, working on that way. Okay, so once we've got that, we can go up and down, back and forth, back and forth. The next tip, and this is a shortcut. There's not many shortcuts when you talk about the fretboard on the guitar, but using shapes. In particular, interval shapes. You start to notice as you play guitar, especially like power chords, right? You see that shape of a fifth and it has a sound to it, right? Or an octave. We're going to use those to advance the third, the first 2 notes of a C major chord, that diagonal shape right there. We're going to use these interval shapes as a quick way to learn the notes on the inner strings. A lot of people are okay with the low string, but the inner strings, that's what we're going to use these for. Once you're confident that you know the notes on the low E strings, we're going to use our first shape, which is the octave. So the shape of the octave, I'm going to put my first finger on the G, 3rd fret. If I go up 2 frets and over 2 strings, we have the same note, just an octave apart. That's a G and a G. So my G on the 3rd fret on the E string, and then 5th fret on the D string. Okay? Anywhere you slide that same shape up and down the guitar, say here at the 5th fret with my first finger, that's an A. That gives me an A on the D string. 2 frets up and 2 strings over. Same with the C. That's on the 8th fret, first finger, 2 frets up, 2 frets over, 10th fret on the D string. I've got my C there. You can use this same method on the A string. So let's see, I'll put my first finger on the 3rd fret of the A string, 2 frets up, 2 strings over. That gives me 2 C's, this C and this C. That's the 3rd fret on the A string and the 5th fret on the G string. And you can slide that up and down the guitar. I'm up here on the 8th fret again. That gives me an F on the A string, and then another F at the 10th fret on the G string. Okay? So off of those 2 bottom strings, using that simple shape, if you ever had a note in the middle of the guitar that you weren't sure about, you could put your pinky on that note and your first finger back 2 strings and back 2 frets to form that shape. And it makes it much easier to know the notes. This is a technique that I explore in the 204 level of the Play Guitar Academy. We add those. I like to do one more shape too, and that's the 3rd. This is a diagonal shape. So we have our 3rd finger. I'm going to put that on the 3rd fret of the A string. And then I'm going to put on the 2nd fret on the next string, on the D string, my first finger. So I'm using 2nd finger and 1st finger. I said 3rd before. Okay, this little diagonal shape here will always give you the 3rd of the this will always give you the third from a third away from your root note here, the first one. What's this doing? This is giving us some arpeggio notes. Okay, this is a major third arpeggio note. If I went up to the F note on the 8th fret of the A string and did this same shape, it's going to quickly give me the major third for an F. Okay, you can slide that around, and whatever note's under your second finger, you'll get a major third away from that note with your first finger. That works on the low E string, it works on the A string, and it works on the D string. Okay, so that was a B flat, and then my first finger gives me a D. Now, if you move to the G string, instead of having it diagonal like that, they're actually right next to each other. So on the D string, I'm going to do, let's see, I'll do the 5th fret. On the G string, I've got a C note at the 5th fret. And if I go right to the next string and push it down at the 5th fret, I will get the sound of a major third. It evens out in between those two strings. Then when you go back on the next two strings, it's a diagonal. So these shapes can really help you pick out notes in the middle of the guitar super easy. And that's really it. Getting familiar with the way the strings are the way they work up and down with the chromatic scale, getting used to the way the strings are arranged for overlap, taking these as exercises, reciting the notes up the strings, across the strings, using also interval shapes. That's going to help you unlock the notes on the guitar and help you get and understand the things that you're already playing, the scale patterns, the chord shapes, and you're going to be able to make really, really great music using this graph paper grid set of strings and frets. It's very exciting when you start to understand this. It's really not difficult at all. It's very simple the way it's set up. It's just not obvious. Okay? All right. So I'm going to go ahead and call it for today. That is a wrap. Thank you so much for, let's see here. Oh, do I have a free guide? No, that's a wrap. Thanks for joining me today for the Play Guitar podcast. Make sure to hit the button below to subscribe to the show. And if you're watching on YouTube, hit the notification bell so you can get all of my content as soon as it comes out. Are you ready to fill in the cracks and use my roadmap to get your playing moving forward again? If so, I'm ready to help. Head on over to playguitaracademy.com. Thanks again, and I will see you on the next episode. Okay, I'm heading back to the comments now. Let's see here. Okay. So Jim was here. We said hi to Jim earlier. Dean's here. Hi, Dean. David's here. Hey, players. Jason. Proving Grounds. Let's see. I think the link in the Academy is for the 2:30 video. Let's see. I sent the email out and it had both links for this one as well. So that was the one that I used for that. And Evan's here. Hey, everybody. Let me know if you can hear me. I just went through the podcast pretty quickly just to make sure I got it all in before the lightning comes back. I'm in one of these kind of panic modes trying to get this together before things get going. But if you can hear me, go ahead and put actually, I'm going to open up another window here to see what you guys are seeing. Hear me? Go ahead and there we go. Okay. There we go. Yeah, there's a lot more. I wasn't getting all of the chat. So let's see. Okay, now it's all popping up that I opened up the other one. Okay, Charlie said, good stuff. Thanks, Lee. Thank you, Charlie. Yeah, it's a lot of people know a little bit of the basics, but they don't follow through with it. And that's what I was trying to show is how easy it is to follow through. If you just put it into your practice a little bit, it's going to open up the fretboard a lot. And then you can take the scales that you're learning and see, well, what is it that I'm playing? Or the licks, especially, what is it I'm playing? Evan can hear me. That's good. I'm glad. Jim says, I really find using the interval shapes helped me find the other notes in the scale. Yeah, it's a great workaround. It's a great it's a shortcut, but it relates to the chords that you're already playing. You see these shapes in the chords that you're already playing, and it's very, very, very powerful. Let's see. Jason's here. He says, all those shapes work great. That's been where my focus has been. I've been looking at a baritone uke to focus on the high 4 strings. Yeah, ukulele's fun. I always love picking one up and people are like, do you play this? I'm like, no, but it's the relationship. Even though the top 4 strings of the guitar aren't the same notes, kind of like we went through today with the fourth between the low string and then the third and then the fourth. The relationships between the notes are the same. That means the shapes are the same. So you can use the top shapes of your guitar on the uke, and it really works awesome. So Will, okay. Hey, Will, thanks. Thank you for letting me know you can hear us. That's awesome. That's awesome. David says, good stuff. Makes more sense to me. We'll start the fret exercises. Yeah, man. I think it'll help you. I think it really will. Can't hurt. Knowing more about this thing and knowing that the confidence is a big deal. I remember when I was probably 15 or 16, and I was just trying to learn songs, and it was kind of just like hunting for notes. And back then, if I got a tab, I was lucky. Usually, I was trying to learn it off of a recording, and I'm hunting for notes, and I don't really know how they work together or what the notes are or anything like that. I'm just basically being like a player piano that just play this. And at the time, I think it was a teacher that I had me go through all of this and really start to unlock what these notes are. And then it all made sense. And I could really see the scales that were in there. I could see the shapes in other licks in songs. So Jason says, sounded great. Thank you, Jason. I'm glad you guys could hear that. I just never know. You never know here during a storm what's going to happen, if the internet's going to kick in or not. Dino's here. Dino says, need to spend more time with notes and seeing the intervals. Yeah, that this zigzag going across, especially to a metronome, that is a great exercise. That is, you're on the you're under the gun. You're on pressure because the metronomes, you got to keep up with the metronome, and you have to think quickly and moving from one position to the next, back and forth. You can really challenge yourself with that. The early things, just going up the string and back, that doesn't take too long to get. Most people can do that. They just have to remember E and F and B and C. But when, you're out here, you're at the 9th fret, something about this area, let's see here, this area right here on the guitar really is like the Bermuda Triangle. It's the no man's land, right? It's really easy to, down here, you're so close to the open strings that it's easy to count up a little bit. But if you can just, here's it, C. Let's see here. What do we got? We got C, F, B flat, E flat, G, and then C. If you can just go straight across that, man, it's really helpful. And also the chord shapes as well, too. Jim says it's that area between the 7th and the 10th fret on the G and D strings that's a tough area for me. Yeah, and you can take that octave idea even further, by using. Here, let me get rid of that banner real quick. You can take that octave idea on the high strings. You have an octave. It's 2 strings, but a 3 fret space. So say I'm going to put my pinky on the D note, which is the 10th fret. That's usually easy to find because it's 2 frets behind the high E string. And I'm going to reverse it. I'm going to go 2 strings over, which is to the G string, and 1, 2, 3 frets back. Okay, so there's the octave shape on the high strings. That works on the top 2 sets of strings. So if you want to know these notes in the middle there, say start on the E. Well, there's my E on that G string. If I go up 2, that's an F sharp. If I go back 2, that's a D. So really helps. It's a little bit of a cheat, not a cheat, but a trick, that using the octave shapes. But man, when you're playing a song and things are going quickly and you don't have time to think, you need those things. They help. I've used it so many times, especially, if you played a lot of songs in an evening and then you get kind of, zoning out a little bit after you've played like 5 or 6 songs. They all start to sound the same. And sometimes you're not as sharp as you are when you first start a set. So these little thirds are always cool too, that kind of stuff. Harmonies, say if you're playing in a 2-guitar band, you can use those shapes to get harmony parts. So if your one is just using the minor pentatonic, you could use for a major type harmony, or you can do the same using the scales for minor type harmony, the minor pentatonic scale, like a 4th apart or 5th apart, for minor harmonies as well. So those shapes really come in handy over time. Okay, everybody, I can't believe we made it through it. It was really tough here. We had almost thought we lost the TV. The TV shut right off when one hit. We had a lightning bolt hit. It sounded like it was across the street. It was one of those where the lightning comes down and the thunder hits at the same time the lightning comes down. But calm down for now. We got it. We got the podcast in. Got to hang out with everybody here. So I'm going to say thanks to Jim and Dean and David and Dino, Jason, Will, Evan, Charlie, and that's, I think, who's commented today. And I see that there's a whole bunch of folks that are watching too. And so thanks for watching today. And I will be, for those people in the Academy, I have our regular weekday live stream tomorrow between 2 and 2:30. And look forward to seeing you there. Have a nice rest of your night. And we got it done. Awesome. I'll see you guys later.